Come on, everybody. How you doing today? Man, we're thrilled you're here on all of our campuses in Yorktown and Hampton, Newport News, and Williamsburg. And welcome to those of you joining us online as well. We're in part 5 of a series we're calling Warrior. I can see it on some of your faces. You're like, when is this series going to end? And I'll tell you, it's gone a little longer than we originally anticipated, but it's so good. It's hard to end it, y'all. I mean, really, we're just loving the series. I will tell you, though, next week is the grand finale, and you don't want to miss it. It's a little bonus teaching I've put together for you. And next week, I'm going to teach you how to choose your battles. All right, how to choose your battles. I'll put it another way for you. I'm going to teach you how to pick your fights. All right, and that's going to be big for some of you. Like some of you know people. Maybe you're sitting beside them right now, and they're always looking for a fight, right? They're always looking for a cause. They're always looking to charge the battle line. So I'm going to help them next week, and so you're going to want to make sure they're back, all right? Or maybe you got a friend that every time they post on Facebook, it's a fight, right? And you know they're going to comment on everything. They're going to give their opinion on everything. If you know somebody like that, you call them this week and say, hey, my pastor wrote a sermon for you, all right? And so bring them back with you next week. I'm going to teach you how to pick your battles and how to choose your fights. I think it's going to be a great finale to the series. But today I'm really excited, incredibly fired up to help you understand a principle about warriors, to help you understand a battle plan that I think every single one of us today can embrace as our very own. Today I'm going to teach you how to fight for others, because warriors, that's what you are. You're a warrior. You fight for others. It's like this joke I heard about what do you do when two snails want to fight? Huh? You let them slug it out. That's what you do. I worked all week on that, y'all. Come on. I want to teach you how to slug it out today, but I want to teach you how to slug it out for others. I think one of the greatest battles that we can engage in fact, I think it's a battle that God calls each and every one of us into, is a battle for others. The Bible says it like this as a command. The Bible says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. And I love this last part. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. That's our call as warriors. Just take on a fight for those who can't fight for themselves. And that's exactly what I'm going to invite you to do today, to stand up, to speak up, and to fight for a child in a developing country who cannot fight for themselves. Now, I'm going to invite you to do that through our relationship and partnership with an incredible organization called Compassion International. And we've been partnering with Compassion now for over 5 years, and we absolutely love them. And Compassion's been here with us all weekend long. They've had experiences at our Newport News and our Yorktown campuses. I'm curious, how many of you have been through one of the Compassion experiences already this weekend? By a show of hands, how many of you already done it? Okay, that's a whole bunch of you who haven't, which means you got a little more time, okay? In Newport News, you have today to do the virtual reality experience. In Yorktown, you've got today and tomorrow to do the trailer experiences. And y'all, I'm telling you, it's an experience for your whole family. You absolutely do not want to miss it. It'll transport you, literally transport you. You'll feel like you're in a whole nother country. You'll see life through the eyes of a child living in a developing country. You don't want to miss out on that. We've been partnering with Compassion now for a number of years. And this is something you need to know. For 5 years now, we have sponsored, through Compassion International as a church, we've sponsored a child survival program in El Salvador. And what that basically means is this: that when you give to Water's Edge Church, like you so regularly and faithfully do, when you give, You're not just giving to change the way people here on the peninsula think about church, but your dollars are actually paving the way for kids in El Salvador to change the way they think about church as well. And it's an incredible, incredible thing. In fact, with our partnership with Compassion, they've told me today I get to announce to you our next overseas mission trip. We're taking a trip, and you're invited to El Salvador in May of 2019. They tell me registration starts today, and if you wanted to go with us to El Salvador, here's what you'd get to see. You'd get to see how our partnership and your dollars are truly making a difference. You'll get to actually work with our child survival program there in El Salvador. And here's probably the best part of all. If you sponsor a child from El Salvador, there's a really strong likelihood that you might actually get to meet him or her on the trip. How awesome would that be, y'all? I mean, really, it'd be incredible. I'm telling you all this because we absolutely love Compassion International. And I am literally blown away by the difference that $38 a month can make in the life of a child in a developing country. Here in America, in our world, $38 a month. What does it get you? It gets you upgraded TV channels on cable TV, right? I mean, that's what it gets you. $38 a month gets you maybe a faster internet speed. I don't know. $38 a month gets you and your family a meal at Chick-fil-A, which is pretty awesome, but not life-changing. Hello? $38 a month. Doesn't get us much here in America. But when you partner with Compassion to sponsor a child in a developing country, $38 a month is literally life-changing. It's directly linked to the health, the education, the spiritual formation of a specific child. And your $38 connects a child to a local church. It connects a child to godly, caring adults. And it connects a child to opportunities they would not otherwise have. And they become a part of your family, and you become a part of theirs. I'm telling you, it's an incredible, incredible thing. Now, there are a lot of organizations that do these kinds of child sponsorships, and you've probably seen a bunch of them on TV or read about a lot of opportunities of how you can make a difference in another country. But I want to tell you why we strategically have partnered with Compassion International. And it's real simple. It's the beauty of Compassion, everybody. The beauty of it is that everything Compassion does in another country for a child, they do it in and through a local church in that country. Now, we believe this at Water's Edge. We believe that the local church is the hope of the world. That's why we do what we do, that the local church is the hope of the world. And so we love partnering with Compassion, where they sponsor kids and connect them to a local church. Because here's what happens. Because of Compassion, the local church in a community, their reputation rises. They're able to meet needs in that community. They're able to make a difference in kids' lives. And as such, the name of Jesus becomes more and more famous. And it's just a beautiful thing. And it all happens when you sponsor a kid through Compassion. So that's what I'm going to invite you to do today. Now, here's the crazy thing. Okay, I've seen it up close and personal. I've traveled around the country with Compassion to see projects like the one we sponsor, to see kids like the ones that I'm inviting you to sponsor today. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I try to think, man, how can I help you understand it? How can I help you experience it for yourself? And I just don't think there's a better way than for you to actually meet someone and hear their story of how Compassion has radically transformed and changed their lives. So this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're going to be so glad you were here for this moment today. I would love it on every campus if you could get loud and proud and give a loud and warm Water's Edge welcome to my friend all the way from the Dominican Republic, Samuel Orlando, everybody. Come on, help me welcome him to the stage, would you? Oh, yeah. They love you already, Samuel. They love you. You hadn't even spoke to them with that awesome accent.
That's because I love you, so I'm so excited about that.
Then we are so thrilled, Samuel, that you are here and that you're here to share with us your story of compassion. You grew up in the DR, in Dominican
Yes.
Republic, and you are a product of compassion.
Yes.
Why don't you help us understand a little bit about what life is like for a child, even your story of growing up in the Dominican.
Thank you, and thank you again, Pastor, for opening the doors and for bringing us here.
Oh, yeah.
If I would live here, I would love to come to this church.
Come on, somebody. We'd love for you, too.
And I'm for real. I love your pastor. I love your church and your generosity. But it's been amazing. I mean, God has been good to me. And I've seen how God has used this ministry, Compassion International, to change my life through my sponsor. And sharing the story of my life is really sharing the story of my mom and my dad. And it started a long time ago when my dad finished his Bible studies. He decided to go plant a church in a small town called Luperon. It was like 3,000 people there in that town. He saw a lot of kids living in extreme poverty over there. There was a lot of young people that were not going to school. And there was no evangelical church. So he said, I want to start a church here. He was poor himself. So he started a church. And then something happened to him. He was 23 when he started the church. He got married to my mom. He spent 2 years of ministry, 2 years of marriage, and then liver cancer came to his life, and he went to heaven at 25 years old.
Wow.
I was only 6 months, so I didn't have the chance to meet my dad. And it was very difficult for me to grow up without a dad. Wow. Because not having a father in the Dominican Republic or El Salvador, it means you're not having provision and protection. My mom didn't have any education. She only, got to 8th grade. There was the church was barely starting, so it was very hard. And I literally, was destined to struggle in life, my mom and I, and fight against something I call monster, because to me it is a monster, and that's the monster of poverty. And Pastor, what do you think poverty means here in the U.S. for some of the people in the U.S.?
I mean, for us, I think we think of poverty as not having certain material possessions, not having access to certain opportunities. Maybe that's how I think we would. We don't have the newest cell phone.
That's true.
Or maybe we don't have. If we think of extreme poverty, we think of kids who don't have food to eat and clothes, maybe new clothes to wear.
And that's how we define a little bit poverty as well.
Yeah.
But for my mom and I, poverty meant that we didn't have enough as far as to eat. And to me, personally, poverty meant that I didn't have a father, not having a dad. And feeling that I was nobody, It was more the lack of my dignity. Because of poverty, my mom had to send me to the streets of Luperon at the age of 5 to become a cornbread seller. So my mom used to wash our neighbors' clothes by hand. When there was an opportunity to gain some money, she would buy corn, make cornbread, and then I would sell it. So
cornbread.
Yeah. And so I ate a lot of cornbread when I was a child, because sometimes that's all we had.
Yeah.
But there were occasions that we didn't have anything, not even cornbread. One time I remember specifically, we didn't have anything to eat, nothing to eat. So my mom and I started praying, and she asked me to pray with her for God to provide something to eat. And then all of a sudden, a sweet lady from church showed up with 10 plantains. Those are green bananas in the Dominican Republic. And 2 eggs. And I was literally jumping. And I said, wow, God just gave us fruit. But then my mom, being my mom, I wish you could know her, she said, Samuel, I want you to take these 2 plantains to Sister Mary. And take these 2 to Sister Luz. And these 2 to Sister Justina. And I freaked out. Because she was giving away our blessing. That's exactly what I told her. And she said, Samuel, no. It is better to give than to receive. And after that, and even now as I'm grown, I said, God always provides.
Wow.
When people hear me say God always provides, they come to me and they question me. If God always provides, why were you living in extreme poverty? Why were you selling cornbread on the streets? If God always provides, why we had 9-year-old little girls in Haiti prostituting themselves to get clean water, bottled water after the earthquake? Why do we have all these problems in the world? Why do we have 400 million children right now living in extreme poverty? If God always provides. And I tell them, God always provides. The problem is that we are not willing to share what God provides.
Wow.
So we have a sharing problem in the world, not a lack of financial. We have a lack of love in this world. In my life, living in extreme poverty before compassion was going to school with broken shoes, being laughed at on the streets because I was selling cornbread, telling me that I was nobody. The lack of dignity. Who am I? I didn't understand who am I. And then I started blaming God. I said, God, it's your fault because you took my dad away at 25. And if he was alive, I wouldn't have been going through this situation. And that was a little bit about my life living in the Dominican Republic before compassion.
So, and I just want to make sure we hone in on this, that we're all understanding, you know, poverty as we think of it often as material possessions, and that is a part of it that you certainly suffered through. But there's a deeper side, a darker side of poverty, right?
Yes, and it is, again, you know, defining a child. You know, a child is a more vulnerable, person. A child that doesn't understand the struggles of life. A child that has been exposed to crimes on the streets, to drugs, all the stuff that poverty brings, you know. Poverty is not just the physical part of it, but this emotional part of it, the social part of it, the educational part of it, you know. And those are the things, when you combine all those four things, then it's a monster. You're creating a monster. You're basically designing that child to be a failure, you know, and question God, you know, question God, you know. And that's the same way I felt. That's the same way my mom and I felt. I remember this, Pastor. One time I found my mom crying, and I asked my mother, why are you crying? And she told me, I'm crying because I have nothing to offer you.
Oh, wow.
That is poverty to me. A mom that doesn't have the ability to give his son, me, the basic needs. A breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner. Sometimes we only had lunch. Sometimes we only have dinner. Sometimes we didn't have anything. So that's poverty. Define my mother as a person that is not able to provide for his child.
Wow. Wow. So at the age of 9, though, something dramatic happened in your life. A new chapter opened up, and it was significant, and it was through Compassion International. Why don't you tell us what happened at 9?
It was amazing because as a matter of fact, I asked my mom, because it's my mom's story. This is not my story.
Yeah.
So every time I ask my mom, tell me, how do you feel when my sponsor, Terry, became literally my second mom? And she said, I felt very sad because I wasn't able to provide you everything you needed. But I also felt very happy, extremely happy, because God used Terry to give you what I couldn't give you.
Wow.
And she became your second mom. And I pray for Terry every time because she blessed my child. So in my case, it was amazing because I was lacking so many different things in my life. I was lacking a dad. I was lacking the meals, the school supplies, the uniform. And through this program, Compassion International, I receive all the benefits. But the most important thing that I receive, honestly, the most important thing that I received were the letters that I received from Terry. And then she didn't write a lot. But she wrote one letter that I can't forget. She wrote in the letter, Samuel, you may not have your biological father alive, but you have an eternal Father.
Wow.
And you could become whoever you want to be in Jesus' name. My goals and my dreams were to become a recording engineer, a musician, and a singer, and preach the gospel around the world, because that's what my mother told me, my dad's dream. And so Terry told me that. She said, I love you, and I'm praying for you. And you could become that person in Jesus' name. Those letters meant a lot to me because I could not understand how a person that didn't know me, that haven't seen me ever, that saw a picture of me probably freaking out, like, you know, probably the first picture I got was the compassion picture, and she chose me. She made room for me into her family, and she didn't have to do that.
Wow.
She didn't need to do that. So I saw God there. Literally, I saw how God was able to use a person that didn't know me to minister to my life. She was a missionary without even coming to the Dominican Republic. And I received meals, school supplies, all the benefits, the health care, dental checkups that I received through the ministry, and the letters of my beautiful sponsor that changed my life. And because of that, today I am a recording engineer, a musician, a singer. I never thought I was going to go even finish high school, and I even have a bachelor's. Can you believe that?
That's
a cornbread seller.
Come on.
You know, and not only that, transformation happened in my life to break the cycle of poverty, but also start a new cycle of blessing and teaching me the principle that this can't stop on me being released from poverty. I have to help others to be released from poverty.
Wow.
And that's why my wife and I, we sponsor 4 children through Compassion. So we have 2 kids, but we really have 6 kids with our sponsor.
That's so cool.
And we get to meet them. We get to minister to them. We also have a music ministry. We go back to DR. We do these events where nobody wants to go. And we bring our band and we preach the gospel. And we bring backpack school supply for them as a gift because we don't want to go with empty. And then we give those gifts in the name of a local church over there because we learn from Compassion.
Yeah.
It's not about us, you know. And I give you this example to show you how one child, a cornbread seller, good for nothing, now God is using him to bless others. And now I get to speak for these other kids because we have 400 million right now that were in the same situation. And I can't just, sit quiet and say nothing.
Yeah.
I have to say something about it and share about it. And this is why I'm here today.
A cornbread seller right here. And the cornbread wasn't even that good, was it?
No, it was a dry kind, brother. Yeah.
And look at you today. Unbelievable. Can we talk about this for a moment? Because
Yes.
About 6 years ago, when I first learned of Compassion and went on a trip to see it for myself, I was a bit skeptical. And I'm just going to be honest. Don't judge me, Samuel. But here's what I believed, okay? I believed that there were a couple hundred of these pictures of kids, and I might take this one, but there'd be another copy of this same kid that somebody else would take, and we would all send our $38, and it would go into one big pot, and, we would write letters, and who knows where they would end up, and then we would get letters, and it was probably the same letter that you got, just kind of a form letter with, a kid's name at the bottom. And that's kind of how I pictured it. I was skeptical because I could not imagine for a moment, not even in a million years, that I could actually be linked with a child in another country and that I could actually have an impact in that child's life, speak into their life, and then hear back from a specific child, and that child would be connected to me and I to them. But you're telling me that's the way it was for you and Terry.
Personally, as a matter of fact, an example, I was just backstage back there, and I had my phone, and there's a Compassion app that you could write a letter to your child right there. I just wrote a letter to my child back there and sent them a picture.
Wow.
And I wrote a letter saying, I love you. I'm praying for you. God is going to do great things to you. Because sometimes we're thinking we got to write a humongous letter. No, those words of encouragement that God can use you, and it is amazing. My brother, for example, my brother Tony used to shine shoes on the streets. So my mom remarried another pastor, and we went back to Luperon to continue my dad's church.
Oh, wow.
With Compassion. And there, we struggle still, but my brother Tony used to shine shoes on the streets, and my brother Tony was sponsored by a 15-year-old girl that decided to not continue having her cell phone. And she said, I'm not going to have my cell phone anymore, Mommy. Don't pay for that bill. I want to use that money to pay for Tony. Wow. I want to sponsor Tony. Tony became a computer engineer, computer programmer. He came to the U.S., went to Moody for a master's degree, and then he finished his PhD through Lancaster University. Tony, shoe shiner. And then today, Tony is leading the whole program of the Compassion. He's the national director of Compassion in the Dominican Republic, where we serve 70,000 children. We partner with 200 churches.
Wow.
My sister, Annabella.
That's awesome.
I can't stop testifying how God has been using people like you that have made room in their house to bring Tony, to bring Samuel, to bring my sister Annabella, who became a dentist because her sponsor wrote letters to her and told her, I am a dentist. And the inspiration that she received from her sponsor made her become a dentist.
Wow.
So, it is a personal way for you to really connect. It is a way for people that come to church that can't sing or preach, or they're not serving. They say, how can I get involved? You could become a missionary without even leaving this place by sponsoring a child today and being that person that God is using. God can use you too.
Wow.
God is going to do it because it's not compassion. It's not the church. It's God. And I believe that every single person has the ability, the power to be part of this. Because you know what? Sponsoring a child is like $1.25, like a Coke. If you can afford a Coke, that means you could sponsor a child. You could sponsor another Samuel, another Tony, another Anabela. You could change somebody's life in Jesus' name.
Wow, that's so strong. So strong. I just had a Diet Coke backstage. and I just think about how for most of us, $1.25 for a Coke, no big deal. And what does it get us? What does it get us? And yet $1.25 a day here, and it gets us somebody like you whose life has forever been changed. I just think that's an incredible thing and an incredible opportunity. I really do. Wow. So I didn't ask you this earlier. Have you met Terry, your sponsor from Canada, right? From Canada.
So I never had the chance to meet my sponsor.
Yeah.
She never traveled. Compassion encourages the sponsors to meet their kids. She was a grandma when she sponsored me, so maybe she's not even alive. Because I had the chance to go to Canada once, and I asked Compassion to let me connect with her, and I tried to connect, but the number didn't work. So maybe I know for sure that I will meet her in heaven.
Yeah.
She will know about what she did, you know, the how she changed my life, and I'm excited to see that. I wanna share this, Pastor, because I know a lot of people here may be questioning, saying, "Hey, should I sponsor a child?
Right.
Is this money getting to them?" This is not it's not about the money.
No.
And we're not here to make you guilty or make you feel or manipulate you here. We're here to show you a way, a tool that the God can use, and that's you, you know. And I want to share this. I went back to the ER one time, and a friend of ours came to our house. She forgot her backpack in our house, and I failed to put $20 inside there. But I said, let me just think about it. But better, I said, let me just pray about it. And if I'm honest with you and honest with the church, I tell you this, many times God had put something to do something in my heart, and I had said, I'm just going to pray about it, and I have done nothing. I have done it many times. And that day I did it. I did nothing. The next day she came
So wait a
back.
minute. You felt God say, put $20 in her backpack.
Yes.
But you said, I'm going to pray about it, and then you did not do it.
Did not do it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And then the next day she came back. She said, Samuel, yesterday I was being kicked out of my house. I needed 500 Dominican pesos, about $20. And she said, and somebody gave it to me. And I felt very happy for her because God blessed her. But deep inside me, Pastor, I felt very sad. And I'll tell you why. Because many times I came through the doors of a church and raised my hand and cried and asked God, use me in this generation.
Wow.
Many times. And when the opportunity came, I had done nothing because I had to think about it or pray about it. It's great to pray about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just have to act. We just have to do something. So I told God, whenever you show me a need, I'm not going to think about it or pray about it. I'm just going to do it. Because I know God is going to rescue these 400 million children. And he's going to do it either through me or through you or through whoever is willing and available to do something and make room in your life, in your family, in your heart for somebody.
Yeah.
Like a child like this.
That's right.
Today you have the same chance, the same opportunity to be a blessing, because I learned that being blessed is not enough when we were designed and called to be a blessing.
Wow.
Make room for a child today.
I tell you what, I am so thankful today that a grandmother in Canada named Terry made room for you. And I'm so honored today that you're inspiring all of us to make room for others in our life. Can you help me thank Samuel, everybody, for being here with us? God bless you. Thank you. So today, you know, we're going to invite you to take a step, to put into action exactly what you've heard. and to sponsor a child today for yourself and watch and see how God can use you as you make room for one more. Why don't you check out this video?
Growing up as a child, life was very hard, and many other times that if we didn't have food, then we would go to scavenge in the dumping sites.
I didn't have food the day before, neither the other day before.
I only knew that I was hungry and I needed food.
As a child, I grew up with a lot of hopelessness, and I knew that death was the best thing for me.
At the age of 7, I lost 3 family members. I lost my mom and I lost my stepdad. I lost my small brother Patrick because of the terrifying disease of HIV/AIDS.
In the middle of prostitution,
Feeling so helpless.
Poverty made me feel less valued. It made me feel not loved. It made me feel less of a human.
Because it's so hard when you have not eaten dinner and knowing you'll not have lunch and you're not assured for dinner the following day. It's just feeling very helpless, like things are not gonna be better.
I lost 4 of my siblings due to preventable diseases. 3 of them died before the age of 5. My sister, we were sleeping with her in the same bed, and she had died. Things changed later when I joined the program.
When I started attending the Compassion Project, I was learning about the Bible, but the most important thing for me was that I was receiving food.
I got an opportunity to go to school with a pair of school uniform, with a pair of shoes.
my mother heard about a church that worked with children. They're taking care about me, tutors, a pastor, a compassion director.
Words are very powerful. My life was changed because someone told me, I believe in you, I love you, and I know you will succeed in life.
My sponsor was a college student from Michigan, and in the first letter, she just told me that she wanted to make room for me.
My sponsor, he was 8 years old when I was 9, so he was 1 year younger than me. One decision to make room for one more changed my life.
Saved my life.
Save my life.
Will you make room for a child that needs you?
Will you make room for one more?
It's up to you.
My name is Rafael.
My name is David.
My life was changed by a 26 years old college student.
Her name is Joan.
Gail and Roger.
Her name is Jamie.
My sponsor made room for one more.
And that one more
And that one more was me.
was me. Sponsor a child through compassion today.
Release a child from poverty in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
So let me tell you my compassion story. So 3 years ago, we hosted our first Compassion Sunday just like this. And we decided as a family that we were going to sponsor a child that day. We had been working with Compassion here at the church for a couple of years before that point. And so we just been waiting as a family until our Compassion Sunday. And we had decided we were going to sponsor a teenage boy from El Salvador. And that was our strategy. We've got we got 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. We say we're just going to even things out, and we're going to sponsor a teenage boy from El Salvador. So after one of the services that Sunday, Tabitha and Braden and Emma and Taylor met me in the lobby, and we began our search for our sponsored child. And you'll see it in a moment. It's a little bit chaotic. There are tables everywhere and hundreds of pictures of kids that need to be sponsored. And so it's a little bit of mass chaos. And so we walked up to the first table and we asked the volunteer there, you'll see them, they're wearing our these compassion shirts. We asked the volunteer, we said, hey, we're looking for a teenage boy from El Salvador. What table do we go to? And this volunteer said, I think I saw some teenage boys from El Salvador on a table over there. And he pointed all the way across to the other side of the lobby. I'm like, great, okay. And so we're going to go over there. So we weave our way through this mass of people to finally reach a table on the other side of the lobby. And we reach down and we pick up Henry, at the time, a 12-year-old teenage boy from El Salvador. Henry Hodges, as we affectionately refer to him. I think it's kind of got a catchy tune to it. So we decided that's who we're going to sponsor, Henry from El Salvador. And for the last 36 months, that's been one of our greatest joys as a family, is to send $38 a month to write letters and receive letters and to sponsor Henry. So as we picked up his packet, you'll notice this. There's a top section and a bottom section, and one of the sections you get to keep that has the picture of your sponsored child. One of the sections you fill out, giving all of your information so the process can begin. And so we're standing there filling out this information to sponsor little Henry, and I feel this kind of nudge beside me, and I look down, and it's Emma, our middle daughter, and Emma says, Daddy, can I sponsor one? And I said, yeah, baby. We're sponsoring Henry. Like that's what we're doing as a family. And I just went on back to filling out the paperwork, and she nudges me again, and I look back at her, and she says, no, Daddy, just me. And I had this this moment that you wouldn't be very proud of, this preacher moment that wasn't a very preacher moment at all, this dad moment that I'm almost embarrassed to tell you. And I looked at her and I said, no, baby, it's $40 a month and you ain't got no money. And then I just went back to filling out the, real good, right? I went back to filling out the paperwork. And there was one more nudge. And you gotta know this about Emma. Emma is non-emotional. Emma is incredibly logical. She hardly ever asks for anything. And I look back at her at this nudge, and this time she got these big crocodile tears in her eyes. She says, please, Daddy. I saw her on the table across the lobby. And this time I slowed down long enough to recognize maybe something's happening now in her heart. I said, baby, is this God speaking to you? She said, I think so, Dad. And remember, we had weaved through this massive crowd of people to try to get from one side of the lobby to the other to find our kid from El Salvador. But there was a little girl who had captured Emma's attention on the other side of the lobby. It stood out to her, I believe, destined by God to be sponsored by Emma. I looked back at Emma, I was like, I don't know how you're going to do this. I don't know how you're going to make $38 a month. The whole time I'm thinking, you ain't ever made a dime of money in your life. How you're going to make $38 a month to sponsor this kid? I got this right. I don't always get things right, but I got this right. I said, baby, if God's telling you, then yes, you can sponsor her. And I mean, she lit up and ran across that lobby and grabbed that little picture. A 5-year-old princess from the Philippines came running back, biggest smile on her face. Dad, I'm a sponsored princess. Can I just tell you, this is crazy to me. It's unbelievable to me, really. A girl who had literally never made any money in her life, before we left the lobby that day, had been offered random, out of the blue, 2 different babysitting jobs to pay for 2 months of sponsoring little princess. And now here we are 36 months later, and Emma has paid $38 a month every month to sponsor little princess and written her letters like a big sister and gotten letters back. It's amazing to me. Amazing. I gotta just tell you this. As a dad, nothing makes me prouder, right? Nothing makes me prouder. And here's what I know that Emma is changing Princess's life. It's amazing. But maybe more so than that, I know this, that Princess is changing ours. I want that for you. I want that as much for you as I want it for the 600 kids all around the world that we will collectively sponsor today. I want you to make room for one more and watch and see what God does in and through you. So in just a minute, I'm going to dismiss us, and I'm going to ask you not to rush out. Don't dismiss this moment. So I think God's speaking to your heart. And I'm going to ask you to go into the lobby of your campus, stop at a table, find a child. Take up the fight because you're a warrior. And watch and see what God will do through you and for them. Why don't we do this? Would you stand to your feet all across the room on every campus? I don't know what you're feeling right now in this moment, but here's what I want to ask you to do. Just right where you stand. As I pray for you, would you just do this? Would you just open the palms of your hands like this, just as a sign? Just as a symbol. God, whatever you ask of us today, we will do. Our hands are open. We will freely give. We will be a part of your mission in the world. We'll release kids today from poverty. And we'll change a life. And in the process, may our lives be changed. We love you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen. I'm so glad you've been here today. Now let's go out and release some kids from poverty. Come on, you're dismissed.